Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Crown and today we are going to have some more stories that I hope that you will enjoy. But before we start, it will be so much appreciated if you would subscribe to the channel, like the video if you enjoyed it, and maybe leave a comment down below. These simple clicks would mean a lot to the future of this channel and really reward the effort that I put in every day. And now, without further ado, let's go! First story. Level 3 crooks get obliterated by level 99 boss. Do not commit crimes you are too stupid for. What you need to know in advance: this did not happen to me, but to my boss. He's a district attorney in a larger city in Germany. He drives an expensive car and he has a device that signals the police where he is and that he's in danger. The participants are my boss, 5 youngsters that will be referred to as B1 to B5. B5 was a mastermind, by the way, and the police. And now to the story. One day he drove home from work and suddenly 2 boys, 17 and 16, B1 and B2, jumped in front of his car, forcing him to stop. My boss was really scared, thinking that they were to take revenge on him because he put many people in jail, and immediately pressed a button on this device to inform the police. And the police immediately rushed with all available units. But they immediately shouted at him, accusing him of trying to kill them. The 3 other boys ran to the scene, also shouting at my boss that they are going to call the police, that he's going to lose his license. Then one of the 2 of them offers that he could give them all the money he got with him and they would leave him alone. At that point, my boss decided to serve some spicy revenge on these jerks. Knowing that every police officer available is rushing to the scene and he only needs to play for time, so he immediately agreed, but under one condition. They all need to sign a written agreement containing that he paid the money and they are not going to press charges or inform the police. And those dumbasses agreed. So he wrote the contract and everyone signed it. After they handed the paper back, they demanded the money. But my boss just laughed at them, stating that no one is going to believe them since he had a written proof that what they have done was highly illegal and that they are going to jail. Not mentioning that the police was coming. And then the police came from everywhere. And damn, he could not resist a big wide smile when he's describing their faces, and I can totally understand that. They were looking like scared ghosts on the verge of existence. One of the smart boys, B3, thought that this paper needs to vanish. So this dummy decides to rip it out of my boss's hand in front of the police, as they should later realize that this was their biggest mistake. Then they tried to escape from the police, but B1, B3 and B5 were caught. The police thought that they wouldn't get to know who B2 and B4 were unless one of the others snitches. Well, they didn't need a snitch because they all signed the paper with their real names. So the police got the other 2 as well. Fast forward to court. There were several trial dates, but I'll shorten it. Do you remember that I told you that B3 made a big mistake? Well, here in Germany there is a law from the Nazi era still in place that gets you a minimum sentence of 5 years when you rob a motorist. B3 and B5 both have 18, got 6 years in adult prison. Also, because of their criminal history, B1 and B2 got 3 years in juvenile detention, and B4 was lucky with only community service. All in all, my boss actually did not need to do much. They destroyed their lives mostly on their own. Next story. Dispute over an alarm clock ends a career. A recent petty revenge story made me remember this experience from my teenage years. So, just before my senior year in high school, I turned 18 and bought a car with my saved up years of babysitting money. I would have liked one sooner, but my mother absolutely refused. At 18, in my big act of teenage rebellion, I went out and bought one. A couple months later, Auntie Witch suddenly left her job from several states away and moved in with us, without her car. It cost less if she waited 6 months until spring to get it shipped. Something about snowbird travel patterns and that kind of stuff. She was cheap and a user as well as a jerk. As a result, I was expected to share my recently acquired car with Auntie Witch until hers arrives. This seemed deeply unfair, but nonetheless it was agreed upon that she could use it for appointments and job interviews since I could take the school bus. I needed to be warned in advance because my bus stop was the second one of the route. It left a lot earlier than I needed to if driving directly, and I liked sleeping. You may be wondering about now what this has to do with an alarm clock. Auntie Witch is one of those people who likes to rile people up, then mock them for getting angry. She's always got a complaint, harsh words, and is feuding with somebody over something. Once she moved in with us, her complaint was my alarm clock. My room shared a wall with hers. The alarm was waking her mooching, unemployed broke self up every morning, and that pissed her off. Couldn't I just go to bed earlier so I didn't need an alarm clock? The morning schedule at our house went something in the ballpark of this. 5:30 a.m. my workaholic mother leaves for the office. 5:45, my alarm goes off if taking the bus to school. 6:15 if I leave taking the bus to school. 6:45 if I leave driving to school. 1:30 never. Auntie's Witch unemployed self needs to be anywhere. Auntie Witch approached my workaholic mother about the horrific inconvenience of my using an alarm clock. Her solution was that my mother should wake me up every day at 5:30 before leaving. And my mother told her to try earplugs or work it out between us. My workaholic mother was massively non-confrontational and wanted no part of an Auntie Witch dispute. Auntie Witch started sneaking into my room to unblock the clock after I fell asleep. I'm a hard sleeper, so she pulled this off a few times. I had a good number of tardies before I figured out it wasn't the new cat who initially got blamed. Woke up to see her standing over my bed one night. Creepy. I screamed like a banshee, waking the whole house. She claimed sleepwalking, and my mother let her get away with that lame excuse. I endeavored to solve the problem myself with some super glue. That house got sold with a bonus electric blue alarm clock. An Auntie Witch started turning the alarm off instead of unplugging it. So I started sleeping with my alarm clock tucked behind my pillow. No way Auntie Witch could do anything to it without waking me now. And she was angry at having not gotten her way and never let anything go over. Auntie Witch's next move was to get up when the alarm went off and race into the only bathroom with a shower. It was closer to her room than mine, so she always beat me there. She'd stash magazines in there to sit on the commode reading until right around 6:20. This is after the school bus has left, but still before I need to... This is after the school bus has left, but still before I need to leave driving directly. Once I was taking a very rushed shower, and she'd steal my keys and take my car, wherever the hell the unemployed go to drive around all day. She claimed that I just wasn't paying attention when she said she needed the car. She wasn't telling me. When my mother wasn't around, she made snide remarks that if she was woken up, she had just as much right to the bathroom as I did. I could solve this problem by not waking her up. In addition to this, she would take my car evenings and weekends, always right before I had babysitting gigs, and it never returned with more than fumes in the gas tank. She had to call the roadside assistant twice for running out of gas because she guessed wrong on how far she could get on fumes. Needless to say, I was mad. Also massively inconvenienced and a lot poorer. I had to beg friends for last-minute rides or take a cab. She continued to play me and my mother stayed out of it. We got into a cat and mouse game with my keys where I eventually kept them on me at all times, even in the shower. This was an old car some years back, no electronic keys were harmed. The keys came in the shower with me because the counter wasn't enough to stop her from pulling the bathroom lock. Pocket door, trivial. and coming in while I was showering to take them. Again, creepy. This eventually resulted in her asking in advance to borrow my car for a job interview that probably wasn't. She went to the key shop and got my car keys copied. The next day, my keys safely back in my possession. She pulls a shower stunt again. She did it a lot even when she wouldn't take my car. Anti-Witch was just a jerk. I head out to the driveway, keys in hand, and my car is not there. Legit thought she's hot-wired it until I got home and showed no signs of tampering. I am not much for poking the bear, but it was time to have this out. Anti-Witch quiet smugly admitted to copying the key, called me a selfish witch who didn't know how to share, and many other unfortunate things I don't remember exactly. She wasn't giving it back. What was I going to do? I warned her that the car was mine and she did not have permission to use it ever again. This was a bridge too far for me. There would be consequences. And to that, she laughed in my face. The next morning, my car was not in a driveway. I expected this. My best friend's dad was a cop. I was practically a fixture in his house for a decade, and he was the closest thing I had to a father figure due to my own deadbeat dad. So I gave him a call, utterly distraught that the car I've worked so hard to get has been stolen from my driveway. He's very sympathetic. Did I mention my car had low jack? It was actually a very nice car, back when it was new anyway. We do all the reporting and whatever it takes for the cops to find it with low jack. By mid-afternoon, they had found it in the parking lot of an outlet mall. I don't know what the full details of the encounter were, as I've heard multiple versions of this part of the story over the years. She had some kind of witch dizzy on them upon being accused of theft, including a tussle with an officer. It ended in charges of grand theft auto, resisting arrest, assaulting an officer, and some kind of license-related thing because she'd never switched it to her new state of residence. Don't throw a witch dizzy at a cop. They don't like it much. As this all took some time, she didn't get arraigned that day, as her unemployed broke self had horrid credit and little money. She couldn't make bail. As I deleted her answering machine message begging for my mother to come bail her out, my workaholic mother didn't even notice she was gone for almost a week. Once mom did notice, I explained that my car had been stolen and I called the cops. I was handling the situation myself like she suggested. The look of Dawn in horror was just amazing. Then she shrugged and went back to avoiding all the confrontation. Anti-Witch served 2 weeks in county lockup until she took a plea deal. I suspect they slowly walked her paperwork a bit. What happened after was glorious revenge. Anti-Witch's remaining savings were used up on all the fines and court fees. So she finally got around to shipping her car and engaging in a job hunt. One problem, she was previously a teacher. She'd yet to get her certification in her new state. And now she had a rap sheet and was unable to pass a background check. Oops. Time for a new career as a telemarketer. Anti-Witch did not bother me much after that. I learned years later that she only went after kids hard. And I had proved enough of an adult. She realized there were consequences for her actions. We spent the next few months ignoring each other before I headed to college. And that's how a dispute over an alarm clock ended Anti-Witch's teaching career. Edit to a few questions. What's up with your mother? Mental illness. She was not a bad person, she simply had almost no capacity to deal with conflict and retreated into her work as a coping mechanism. With time and understanding, I'm sympathetic to her role, and she has since passed away. Why didn't you call the cops sooner? Well, I had never dealt with anyone so lacking boundaries like Anti-Witch before. I genuinely thought there was a limit, and I just had to handle things until we got there in the name of family harmony. It was also supposed to be temporary. I had college coming up quickly, and she was supposed to find a job/apartment. So it was very time-bound. It is a nuclear option to call the cops on a family member, and a very scary thing to contemplate at 18 years old. I also wasn't sure it would work, given she could claim I was confused about permission, and the chances my mother would back me up were close to zero. Once I still had my keys in hand and no car in the driveway, that was a game changer in my eyes. Next story. HR says only smart people can work here. I work for a small company and we have a one-man HR department. We often get all sorts of memo detailing policies that sound good on paper but never make practical sense. We often get all sorts of memo detailing policies that sound good on paper but never make practical sense. I think maybe HR got all of their education on YouTube or Reddit, or learned it while being mentored after hours by the CEO. Recently, the HR implemented the new standardized testing for screening new candidates, which scores candidates on their skills in mathematics, language, language, and a bunch of industry-specific questions. The idea is to weed out those who present well on paper and in person, but in fact cannot do the most basic stuff. While this could be an excellent idea to weed out the morons that keep walking through the door, the HR thought it's an excellent idea to make everyone, including those who've already been here for years, do it as well. For the employee files, of course. HR gave metrics for where scores should range for new candidates, sent us links to complete the tests, and requested that they be completed by Friday. As we all know, HR never does things just for employees' files. We suspect HR is trying to get rid of a few crucial people who are not great with computers, not fast on the calculator, but are in fact beating souls to the workplace. Everyone at the office pretty much all boycotted the test. When HR pressured the CEO to threaten our bonuses, we begrudgingly complied. HR wants to score us based on arbitrary standardized tests as a benchmark? Sure. We spend the next 3 days after hours working on the test together, one test at a time. At the end, we all scored 9 out of 10 in every category, because we got some pretty bright people helping out. And guess what? We forced the HR to do the same test. And the HR guy scored 5 out of 10 for math and 4 out of 10 for logic. Guess who should be on the chopping block? And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.